Have you ever had a friend that literally hates you for no reason? Because I have. I was friends with this girl in high school. Let's call her Brittany. We were friends for probably a solid 3 or 4 years before I had to block her completely. When we would have sleepovers with a group of friends, this girl would be brutally picking on me the entire time, but when it was just me and her, she was great. She used to call me dumb and say she was smarter than me literally all the time. One time there was a pool party at her house and all the girls were putting on their swimsuits in one room. We were kind of all facing different corners of the wall. And she turned around, told everyone to look at me while I was changing, and started laughing at how skinny I was. Literally was pointing at me and laughing. And this is when I was like 14. Another time when we were like 16 or 17, I was having a sleepover with her and another girl, and she forced me to sleep on the tile floor while they slept on beds with no blankets or pillows, just straight up on the tile. Then she told me at the next sleepover she promised she would give me the bed, and then at the next sleepover the exact same thing happened again, and I slept on the cold hard tile with no blankets or pillows. She also hated the fact that I wanted to be an influencer and that I was actively pursuing that. She would always tell me my career was gonna fail, I was gonna amount to nothing in life, and I was gonna end up homeless on the streets of LA while she was successful. I think part of the reason she was so mad was because her ex-boyfriend confessed his love to me, but I rejected him, and that was also like towards the very beginning of our friendship. Like, I'm telling you, there had to be more. She was also that girl that would immediately start putting me down whenever we were in front of a group of guys, like I was a threat or something, and she was trying to make me look bad in front of them all the time. So eventually senior year rolls around and I decide I am sick of putting up with her BS, and I don't know why I'm doormatting to her all these years and still being her friend. When she treats me like that, my light shut off. So I'll tell you how our friendship breakup went. This is when I figured out that this girl is actually crazy. So I just started completely ignoring her and not responding to any of her texts, which worked for a month or two, until one of my other best friends was having a birthday and she wanted all of us to go out to brunch. Obviously Brittany was gonna be there, so I thought, it's fine, there's gonna be like 7 of us there, I can easily just not talk to her, I'll just ignore her. Little did I know what was about to go down in the middle of this restaurant.
Am I wrong for telling my brother and sister-in-law that their pregnancy announcement was trashy? My family has a 21 plus adult-only gift exchange, volunteer only. If you sign up, you have to spend $20 on each person. We have a Google Doc with a list of things each person would like, their sizes, and favorite snacks. You follow the list, you spend $20 per person, and we have the exchange after the kids go to sleep. My sister-in-law Kelsey, 34 female, and my brother Kyle, 30 male, both signed up to be on the list. They asked to go last because they had something special they wanted everyone to open together. Everyone else followed the list and got people something they would like. Kelsey and Kyle spent $5 per person. It was a sonogram picture in a cheap dollar store frame and a note saying, $35 has been donated to the baby in your name, and a 2XL shirt with puffy paint that said Baby Bella 2022. We all said congrats about the baby and talked about it for a bit. My dad then said, do you want to finish the exchange? This is great news, but we have to be heading home, so if you want to get the rest of the presents. Kelsey said, that is the gift. Kyle got up to use the bathroom and my dad followed after him. They had an argument in the hallway and Kyle stormed out. My dad was like, everyone can take their gifts back from Kyle and Kelsey because this is bullshit, and they knew exactly what they were doing. A few people did take their gifts back and left, but the rest of us sort of sat there until it calmed down and then went home. Kyle ended up showing up at my house 2 days later with a real present and apologized. He said in a very angry tone, Kelsey has been crying about it for days now, so thank Dad for ruining the surprise. He then asked if I liked the gift, and I said no. He asked why not. I said, well, everyone else got you a real present with thought put into it. You didn't even get me a shirt that fit, that was printed professionally, and then spent the majority of the money on yourself. It felt cheap and ruined the spirit of the exchange. He called me an asshole and left. So, am I?
If you ever hear someone whistling, don't do what she did. Once a girl moved to Peru with her dad, who started a new job as an English teacher. But one night something strange happened. She looked out the window and saw a long dark shadow moving through the trees. Then as the shadow approached her bedroom window, she heard a whistling sound. Not thinking much of it, she began whistling back to it. Her father came to check on her and found her daughter still facing the windows, whistling to something unknown. He asked, what are you doing? And she replied, whistling at the dark figure in the trees. And as soon as the father looked outside, he took his daughter and locked her in the closet. Then he broke the key in the lock and locked the windows. And from the inside of the closet, the girl could hear her father saying prayers, but all of a sudden it stopped. Then she heard a scream. The bedroom windows shattered and she heard her father's screams fade into the distance. The next morning, the girl was found by villagers investigating the damage to the house. Her father was never found, and eventually she was adopted by her aunt and uncle. Years later, she still sleeps inside a locked closet, in fear that the dark creature that once whistled to her would someday return for her.
Storytime, my best friend slept with my boyfriend on my birthday. So a little background information. I was 16 and a sophomore in high school. Well, I have this best friend who we are going to call Sarah. Her and I became super close over the summertime, but she was like on and off best friends with this other girl who we're gonna call Mackenzie. But I had this boyfriend who I was also really on and off with. And Sarah knew about all the problems within our relationship. Well, I guess I underestimated how close Sarah and Mackenzie were, because everything that I told Sarah, she went back and she told Mackenzie. And not to mention, Mackenzie was really close with my boyfriend. So of course, she told my boyfriend everything that I was saying. This ended up causing a huge fight between my boyfriend and I. Well, the night before my birthday, my boyfriend and I were going back and forth arguing, and around 12 a.m. on my birthday, I forced myself to fall asleep, and at around 1 a.m., I woke up to 20 Snapchat notifications, all from my boyfriend. And when I opened them, I saw the worst thing ever. Like for part 2. Part 2 about how my best friend slept with my boyfriend on my birthday. So like I said, I woke up at around 1 a.m. to 20 Snapchat notifications from my boyfriend, and I saw the absolute worst thing ever. The first 5 notifications were just him calling me names, and then all the other ones were just him doing stuff with my best friend. And you guys can already guess what I mean by doing stuff. So at this point, I was heartbroken, I was pissed off. But of course, because I gotta have the receipts, I went and took a video off my sister's phone of everything that he sent me. In the morning, I woke up to a text from an unknown number, and it turned out to be my boyfriend's best friend saying that him and Sarah were now together. So my boyfriend asked me to meet up and apologize. So I met him at this park, and he apologized to me, telling me that he wanted to get back together with me. But I told him to KMA, and I left. Then Sarah came to my house and keyed my car, and then we fought on my front lawn. And then after that, she was texting me about how she was coming back to my house. Like for part 3. Part 3 about how my best friend slept with my boyfriend. So like I said, she came to my house and she keyed my car. And I caught her, so I went outside. We fought on my front lawn. After she left, she kept sending me messages saying that she was coming back to my house so we could fight again. But she was blocked, so I didn't get any of the messages. And then my ex came to my house and brought me flowers. And this was all in a span of 1 day. So because it was my birthday party, my cousins were at my house, and I already told them everything that happened. So they went outside and they fought him. Well, then I ended up sending all the videos to his parents, her parents, his siblings, aunts, uncles, cousins who loved me. Then I also decided to take legal action, and I sent the cops all of the screenshots of Sarah harassing me. And my sister got a video of us fighting, so I sent that to them too. Well, since she was 18 and I literally just turned 16, she got 3 months in county jail for minor harassment and minor physical altercations.
Here's how I found out that my best friend of 12 years was a fake friend. Yeah, it basically all started in high school. I used to have like a small following on Instagram, and I used to get bullied for it. The girls were literally so horrible to me. Like, they used to call me by my username, make fake accounts, like just be shitty. And even though I love this friend and she had my back, her support was very conditional. Like, when we were alone together, it was fine, and then when we were around like the group of girls who hated me, like, she would almost like low-key sneak diss me. Back then, I really didn't have much of a following, like, at all, and I don't really know why girls hated me, and that's beyond the point. My friend never really celebrated any of my success, and it low-key hurt. We would never really talk unless it was convenient for her, and every time I asked to hang out, like, she wouldn't even let me make plans. She would just say no. Fast forward to years later, I'm like, you know what, she's still my childhood best friend, and I want to invite her to my birthday. This one, like, actually hurt, because I was like, hey, like, my birthday's coming up, I wanted to invite you, would you come? And she was like, I can't. I have another friend's birthday. Didn't even let me tell her what day it was. So I was like, that's fishy. So at that point, I was like, okay, you see all of my stories, you've been, seeing all of my success, you haven't once congratulated me for anything. And every time I made plans, she literally wouldn't even let me talk. She would just turn it down right away. So I just knew it was done. So after the whole birthday thing, we legit didn't speak for probably 6 months. So I finally hear from her. It was on a date that I had a presentation, and I see my phone ringing, and I'm like, this is odd. And then she's like, you're such a fake bitch, like, why aren't you picking up? Like, bro, I'm literally presenting. And now I'm like, okay, she probably misses me. Wrong. This girl proceeds to tell me that someone she knows is a fan of me and watches my videos, which is very sweet, and I appreciate it. But it was just wrong timing. Like, we haven't spoken in 6 months. You've never, like, clapped for any of my achievements, but now this is how you want to call me for brownie points? I told her that. I was like, listen, we haven't spoken in like 6 months, and this is how you're gonna call me? Like, no, how are you? How have you been? And now we are fighting because she can never just take an opinion. She starts blowing up my phone, and I'm like, listen, I'm on a date. Like, my boyfriend really planned out a date. I can't talk to you right now. And now I'm ruining the date and arguing with her on the phone. And I was super busy with life. Like, you ignore me for 6 months, and I'm just not about to put everything on pause and figure out this petty issue. And she very clearly didn't like that, so she unfollowed me on everything, and that's fine. Like, babe, it's not like you really wanted to see my post anyways, so it's good. So ladies, I don't know who needs to hear this, but a friend who doesn't applaud for you really isn't a friend. The whole situation is really unfortunate because I literally saw her as family. Like, I supported her, loved her, cared for her. Like, she was really my sister. I have a bad habit of letting like quantity hold me back from cutting off people because I'm like, oh, it's been 12 years. But anyways, it is what it is, and I'm not gonna beg anyone who doesn't have true intentions and doesn't genuinely love me to be in my life.
I'm 34 and my brother 29 got married a few years ago to literally the sweetest woman 28 in the world. A year or so ago, she was in a car accident and suffered a traumatic brain injury. She's never been quite the same. Her voice is always shaky and she stutters a lot. She can be a bit slow to process things. She needed to relearn basic tasks. Just issues like that. Well, they were over at Thanksgiving and it must have been a particularly hard day for her, maybe because she was overwhelmed or something and it was difficult talking to her. Like I asked her if she wanted something to drink and she stared at me for a moment, and it wasn't until my brother came and crouched down and asked her what she wanted to drink that she answered. She wanted apple juice. We didn't have any apple juice. My brother walked all the way down to the gas station to get her a bottle instead of just saying no, have water. My brother dished out her plate, and when dinner was over, she volunteered to do the dishes and my brother helped too. The rest of the family went to chat in the living room, and when I came to refill my glass of wine, I watched while they laughed and danced and acted like they used to. He seemed so happy doing that and less happy when he had to help her. It's just hard having to wait on her. Like we were playing some board games and she wanted to play too, and so my brother had to sit there and help explain things to her. Her turns took like 10 times as long as anyone else's. When they were leaving, I was talking to my brother and I asked if he thought about getting a divorce at all, and he instantly answered no and was insulted that I had asked. He's a young, good-looking guy with a good job. My sister-in-law can't do anything and she's essentially a child that he has to look after. He adjusts his work schedule to take her to her speech, occupational, physical, and regular therapy. Then he's essentially a nurse with all the work he does with her prescriptions. Aside from that, she's not working and can't do much around the house. She cleans, watches the news, and helps make desserts for funerals at her church. He even got her a dog to help keep her active. He claims she's getting better and she seems to, but she'll never be the person she was before. Am I the asshole for asking my brother to consider divorcing his wife?